Welcome to another edition of What Barrie's Talking About from Barrie 360. I'm Dan Blakely. Lots for your consideration this week. We get up close and personal with Ontario Liberal Leader Bonnie Crombie, who made Barrie her first stop of the election campaign. We explore a new initiative from Redwood Park Communities to get more affordable housing built in the city. Things went so well for the Barrie Youth Hockey League in its first summer last year. It is back again this year with even more opportunities to get involved. We're getting closer to the switch to big bins on wheels for garbage collection in Barrie. The city offering different size bins now, but you'll have to act fast or pay the price. We learn how to turn customer complaints into compliments, and we get our regular update on the Barrie Colts season. We get the conversation started after this. We are in the thick of a provincial election campaign. Liberal Leader Bonnie Crombie kicked off hers last week in Barrie alongside Barrie Springwater Oro-Medonte Liberal candidate Dr. Rose Zacharias. Both stopped by the Barrie 360 studios to chat with our Ian MacLennan about where the Liberals want to take us if elected.
Bonnie, you've launched the campaign here in Barrie. You were laser focused on healthcare. When the Premier was first elected in 2018, he was going to eliminate hallway medicine, family doctors, people would have one. You made a bold campaign statement today that everybody will have a family doctor in this province by the end of your first term within 4 years if you become Premier. A lot of politicians have promised that. How are you going to accomplish that, though? That's a huge task.
My pledge to Ontarians is that we will provide everyone with a family doctor within our first 4 years. And we have a $3 billion plan that will do it. In fact, that $3 billion plan happens to be the same amount as those $200 checks that everyone's receiving. Great to get a check this month, but what happens next month? You don't get the same benefit. So I see what you saw, Ian, that this government pledged to eliminate hallway medicine and has failed. We will get it done. They said they would cut taxes. They didn't get it done. We will get it done. They said they'd build homes. They didn't get it done, but we will get it done. So I launched today in beautiful Barrie, because I happen to love it up here, actually, with one of my star candidates, Dr. Rose Zacharias, who is former president of the OMA and a local family doc, because we wanted to highlight that 55,000 people who live in Barrie don't have access to a family doctor. And the cost of this election, which is, by the way, unnecessary because the Ford government has a majority and they can govern and pass whatever legislation they choose to until June 2026 at a cost of almost $200 million, could have bought more doctors than everyone in Barrie needs. So we could have solved the crisis here.
And you said you're going to get it done. So how are you going to get it done?
Yeah, so we're going to recruit and retain 3,100 doctors. We're going to build another medical school. We're going to double the spaces in our medical schools. We're going to double the amount of spaces in our residency programs, because so many young people who are studying abroad can't get a space in a residency program when they come back. We're going to move people through the training, which is called the Practice Ready Ontario. All that to attract, retrain, train family docs. We're going to train more of them. We're going to get more foreign trained, which could be our own kids up in the UK, trained up. We're going to get them through so that they will be practicing 3,100. And Dr. Rose, I think you probably want to make comments about this.
I was going to ask you, you're on the front line.
Yeah.
Hallway medicine, has it been eliminated? And what is Doug Ford doing right, or what is he doing wrong? And you're a former OMA, too.
So I've been a family doctor here for 20 years. It feels different to practice family medicine inside of our healthcare system now than it did 20 years ago. Over the last 7 years, while Doug Ford's Conservatives have been in government making decisions about the healthcare system, I've seen healthcare system deterioration, healthcare systems deteriorate. When you ask family doctors themselves, what's wrong with our system? Why don't graduates choose family medicine? And why, when you work as a family doctor, do you actually seek to exit your family practice and retire early, or shift and pivot your practice so that you're even another kind of doctor in Ontario? Doctors will say 2 reasons. They're not in a supportive team, and they're overrun by paperwork. Isn't that ridiculous?
Administrative burden.
Administrative burden on family doctors means that for every 1 hour a doctor spends with their patient, they actually spend about 3 hours documenting that visit. Can you imagine all of those hours taken away from direct patient care? When people go see their family doctor, they want to talk to their family doctors. We need to equip and support doctors doing what they do and wrap around the teams of allied healthcare workers, documentation administrators. We need healthcare teams. That's a big reason why doctors are currently exiting.
And you mentioned 20 years in healthcare, though, but it didn't just begin to crumble under Doug Ford. You saw it crumbling under previous governments, too. Could the Liberals not have done something, or did they do something?
So there were never doctor shortages under the Liberals. Liberals built hospitals. I mean, this situation has been worsened in the 7 years that Doug Ford has been government. And let's be honest, if this were a serious enough issue, Doug Ford would have addressed this over the past 7 years. He's starting to make announcements about it now. Great. But it doesn't go nearly far enough. And let's be honest, it's too little, too late. If this was a serious issue for the Ford government, it's something they would have addressed years ago rather than see the situation crumble. Not only do we have access to family doctors, Rose has just explained to you that docs are spending over 20 hours doing administrative work. You know, they should be working in teams. We should hire someone to do that admin for them. They want to see patients. They don't want to do paperwork. So we need to get more doctors through the system and attract back doctors back into family medicine and family primary care teams, because we know that 6,000 family docs have left that discipline and gone elsewhere and are practicing other forms of medicine now.
I think what you're seeing here is a lack of priority. So the Conservatives have not prioritized the healthcare system. So even now, at this late stage in the game, this plan that was announced in December 2024 to get everyone in Ontario a family doctor. Ford has been in power since 2018. That was pre-pandemic. Even the pandemic didn't warn the government, hey, we've got issues and gaps in our healthcare system. They need to be addressed now. So what you're hearing different from the Ontario Liberals is that there is a strategy out front to address the healthcare system. Ontarians have a lot to worry about right now. Access to healthcare should be guaranteed.
I want to touch on something Rose just said, which is the waste in the system, the fact that they have the wrong priorities. When you look at where the Ford government is spending money, I call it booze, bike lanes, big spas, and rich buddies. Let's look at it that way. The government watchdog just told us this week that this government spent $2 billion to expedite the sale of beer and wine to corner stores. The sale of those products, beer and alcohol, was coming anyways. So why spend $2 billion, and who's benefiting other than the Costcos, the Walmarts, and the 7-Elevens, all CEOs, buddies of the Premier? Then you look at what happened at Ontario Place. They gave them $2 billion again, foreign-owned spa. And then finally, the $3 billion in checks that they hand out,
when it's
which was great.
Important to the Premier,
there
things
we
get
go.
sped up on, whether it's an election or booze?
The $3 billion in checks, right? To show they've done something. We brought beer and wine to the corner stores. Great. But nobody has a family doctor. Let's get serious about that. Taxes are too high. You can't own a house if you can afford one, and they're not building homes. But the $3 billion in checks that they've sent out, that's about the cost of our plan. I bet people...
Would you have signed off on $200 checks?
Look, the $200 checks are nice to have this month. They top up your groceries, help you with the rent, maybe your cell phone bill. But what about next month? We have a plan that's going to cut taxes. It'll give you $1,050 every year. That's almost $100 a month. That money, that $3 billion, should have been allocated to healthcare or our crumbling schools, but nonetheless, not checks to handing back taxpayers' monies pre-election.
Gimmicky, whether, I mean, it's been done at Queen's Park. It was done, maybe, I don't know what your thoughts are. I mean, I'm not going to go there, but in Ottawa, you know, Justin Trudeau signed off on checks too.
So I know what
gimmicky.
$200 checks will not give us. I had a conversation just this week in hospital with a patient that I was discharging who has a family member who recently passed away. The story goes that her family member had signs of cancer early on, but did not have a family doctor. And so that cancer, when it was finally detected inside the system, was advanced. And her story now is, I think it would have made a difference if my family member had had a family doctor. And I don't just think it would have made a difference. I know it would have made a difference.
You're suggesting lives are being lost right now, are you?
Absolutely. Preventative care. So we know how to look for cancer ahead of time. We know how to monitor the development of heart disease. We know how to take people's blood pressure to see if their diabetes is getting worse. If we're not doing that, people are going to get sicker. They land in the emergency department and in hospital, and then they're sick. That's not the kind of healthcare system that we want.
So
Bonnie,
I just want to...
I guess we do have to move on because
Yeah.
of time. Would you rather be at Queen's Park fighting this government, or do you want to be on the campaign trail fighting this government? The Premier's made it clear it's about tariffs.
It's
That's
not
why
about
it's a mandate. Would you rather be fighting him at Queen's Park over the issues, or here's your opportunity now on the campaign trail to fight him on everything?
Ian, let me be very clear. This is not a campaign about tariffs. I've supported the Premier on whatever response he's going to provide. We're going to have a united approach in response to Donald Trump. This is about Doug Ford's failures, failing to provide the basics for people, failing to provide health care and family doctors, his failure to cut people's taxes as he promised, his failure to provide any sense of affordability for the very products we need, and finally, failure to build homes. This is about his failures and not delivering for Ontarians, and we're here to tell them that we'll do more for them and we'll fix the basics rather than an election that's unnecessary, unwarranted, and expensive. We now know this election is going to cost $190 million. He has a mandate to govern until June 2026. This is an unnecessary election. If he were a leader, he would be at the helm guiding us through this crisis. We would be backing him as opposition parties. He needs to get to work to fix the problems that real Ontarians are facing, not the people of Walkerton, 1,000 of them standing in a lineup, seniors with walkers and in wheelchairs bundled up in parkas, young kids, parents with babies in arms and strollers to sign up to register for the one family doctor that's coming to Walkerton. That's shameful, but that's Doug Ford's Ontario, and I can't let that go. So that's what we're going to fight on. We're going to change Doug Ford's Ontario, and we're going to make it better. We are going to deliver more for people.
And Rose, just quickly.
What happened in Walkerton didn't develop overnight. Those people didn't stand out in the cold for hours to get a family doctor because overnight they lost their family doctor. Those people haven't had family doctors for years. And that's an example of how healthcare has been a lack of a priority. These are problems that should have been fixed a long time ago. They need to be fixed right now.
We're here in Barrie, and the mayor of Barrie came out with a statement endorsing Doug Ford, quoting here, "Now is not the time for change," suggesting that the mayor of Barrie doesn't believe you're the one that should be overseeing this province. Just what your take on that?
You know, I had an opportunity to visit the food bank here. 7,000 families seek help from the food bank every single month. There is a huge homelessness, mental health, and addiction crisis here in Barrie. This government does not have solutions for these problems. The only way to get it done is a Liberal government who will invest in our healthcare system, invest in our education system, invest in housing, but in particular supportive housing with wraparound services for those who need them.
The homelessness hubs, the province has 27. Barrie was announced as a location this week. It'll be across Simcoe County, I believe, 30 beds, maybe, Midland, Orillia, Barrie. Is that not addressing the issue of homelessness and addictions, or at least a starting point?
Well, sure, it's a starting point, Ian, but this has been an ongoing problem for 7 years. Again, too little, too late. 30 beds for this entire region is a drop in the bucket. We need supportive housing with wraparound services, and we needed it 7 years ago, not now.
So I've been having these conversations with our local leaders. I have sat down with leaders of food banks and homeless shelters. The homelessness crisis, the mental health and addictions issues, they're not solved. And these are key leaders in my constituency that are looking to our current government for the support that they're not getting. I look forward to a conversation with the mayor of Barrie and talk about his experience of his constituents with the healthcare system. He will talk about, he'll need to, the 55,000 people in Barrie that don't have a family doctor. And there's not an obvious answer in sight to plan and have a strategy. And it has not been all along. And so the conversation with the leaders in my community are the conversations I'm looking forward to having on behalf of my patients.
Who are the leaders that you've had those conversations with? Because the RVH, Royal Victoria Regional Centre, other healthcare homelessness providers are on board, whether maybe they chose to be or they had to be, regarding these hubs. Do you support the hubs, though? Do you think it's a step in the right direction?
So I would support anything on behalf of the patients that I've been serving here as a family doctor in the last 20 years. And our leaders need to be engaged and need to be involved and need to be asking government for that public funding and that support. I've been the president at the Ontario Medical Association for 2 years. In the last while, I had opportunities to meet all across Ontario with the leaders that talked about healthcare system issues. And we know all the social determinants of health play into our healthcare. Our health is the backbone of our economy. And whether you have food insecurity and lack of housing or a job makes a difference to how healthy you are. All of this is very important.
And Bonnie, we'll leave the last 30 seconds for you. You want to be premier of this province?
Yeah.
But I guess as to, we know where the party is right now, technically in the so-called standings in the legislature. Is this party built again? Is it ready to fight?
Absolutely. We are ready to roll. I've spent the last year rebuilding the party, listening to people, traveling across the province. I'm a different kind of liberal. I'm also a different kind of leader. You will probably call me very fiscally responsible, but very socially progressive. I've served at the federal level. I ran the beautiful city of Mississauga for over a decade and very, very capably. So I'm an experienced leader. I led through COVID as well. So I understand the issues. When I'm at the grocery store, people come up to me and they say, Mayor, former mayor, leader, I don't have a family doctor. Do you know anyone taking patients? And I go down to the next aisle and I watch moms pick up a frozen pack of meat and put it back in the freezer because they know they can't afford it this week. That's the Ontario we're facing today. That's Doug Ford's Ontario. You need real change. You need more for you. Vote for a government who will solve the healthcare crisis, who will get you a family doctor, who will cut your taxes and ensure that more homes are built. We'll do more for you. Thank you.
This is what Barrie's talking about from Barrie 360. I'm Dan Blakely, joined by Tim Kent and Carolina Belmaris of Redwood Park Communities, which, as you know, has been at the fore in providing housing solutions for seniors, people with disabilities, the homeless. 64 housing units completed to date, 500 people accommodated, but you're looking to do more, and you're looking for help doing that with a new fundraising program, a bond program that is a win-win for everyone involved.
Well, the bond program is something that I am so excited about because it is a very innovative way for us as a charity to raise funds. So I want to be so clear that bonds are not a donation. You are not giving us money. This is your money. You're just choosing to invest it in our organization. And so for the term of your investment, for the 3 years, 5 years, however long you choose in whatever option you go for, in that frame of time, we are going to be working wonders with your money. Your money is going to be put to such great use in building housing, in affordable housing in our community, which, as we all know, is so needed right now.
Give us an idea. I think there are 4 different proposals that you can latch onto. Give us an idea of how one of them works.
We can start at $2,500 minimum. That's for a 4-year term, and that gives you a 3% annual interest. Interest is paid annually. And then our second series, which is called Series B, that's a 3.5 annual interest for 5 years. It's a $10,000 minimum, and so on. The next one is Series C at a 4%, 6-year term. It's a $50,000 minimum. And Series D finally is 4.5% of interest at a 7-year term, and that's a $250,000 minimum.
So you're creating funds to work with, and at the same time allowing people to earn some money from that donation, although we're not calling it that.
Absolutely.
I think that's what's beautiful about it, is that the community can actually be intimately involved in the work that we're doing to get housing created and get people housed that are really vulnerable. And that, we all know across the country, in every community, there is a lack of affordable housing. And this just allows us to get that housing built quicker. We don't have to have great big huge long waits on financial approvals from various levels of government. We can actually get going, get the housing built, get people housed, and backfill that with the various government programs that are available. And like you pointed out, and like we've already said, the beautiful part of it is that the community can be involved. So instead of sending your money away to some big mutual fund company in the big city and you never see it again and they invest it all over the world, you can actually see your money at work when you get up every morning and and drive to work like we drove here this morning, and you can see the results of your investment strengthening and making an improvement in your own community.
Was this something that you came up with, or have you seen it working in some other municipality or some other form?
Yeah, it's actually an idea that Redwood has been working on for a few years to determine how we could do something like that. The original idea was some kind of an actual, regulated mutual fund. And so we've been looking at different financial models. But there is an organization in Toronto called Tapestry Community Capital, and they actually specialize in helping not-for-profits and charities in different sectors across the country raise funds through community bonds to be able to move their social impact and community impact projects forward. And so we kind of connected with them, really got to know them, and then worked together with them to establish our bonds. They provide our administration and management of the bond campaign itself, and they bring a huge track record. And we had to go through a lot of financial rigor in order to be able to make sure that we could provide the bonds to the open market, and even more to be able to ensure that we could provide an RSP and TFSA eligible.
How did you get involved in this homelessness thing in the first place?
Oh, that's another whole long story.
We'll be here for a couple of days, will we?
We'll be here for days. Yeah. We've got 3 or 4 episodes or something.
Well, we can do that another time. But in a nutshell, how did you come to be involved in this?
Yeah, very, very briefly. My wife, Rhonda, and I was working in the construction industry in Toronto, running as a senior project manager for a really large residential builder and developer, and we were living in Barrie, and my wife and I were volunteering at the Women and Children's Shelter here in Barrie, and on weekends and evenings we were helping women leave the shelter and move into what was supposed to be, in our minds, their new, affordable, hopeful homes. And so many of the places that we were moving them into just, I couldn't do it. I couldn't even move my worst enemy into some of them. They were just awful and really expensive. And I just kind of really felt like there's got to be, we got to do something different. We got to be able to, as a community, do better than what we're doing and treat people with some dignity. And so that's kind of how it started. We just started thinking about, well, what could that look like? And I for several months kept saying, somebody's got to do something about this. And finally I realized
it was you.
that maybe I needed to do something about it. So that's kind of how it started to get going.
You have several projects that have already been completed. I'm presuming there are more on the drawing board.
Oh, yes. We do have several projects completed. We have about 150 units altogether that are on the drawing board. They're at different levels and stages of development, from pre-development up to getting ready for permit. We've got about 20 units that we're ready to act on, immediately, in terms of getting them actually secured and open. There are currently a couple of properties that are being underutilized or not being used for housing at all, and we'd like to get those open this year. So that'd be 20 units here in Barrie right immediately. We have a property that we own already in Aurelia that we want to add some units to, and some property that we own already in Midland that we want to add some units to. And then we've got another property here in Barrie for seniors that we're working on, that we need to secure the property so that we can continue to move forward with that 80-unit project. If people are interested in the bonds, how do they get involved? How do they do that?
Well, you can access our website at www.redwoodparkcommunities.com/bonds. We host info sessions online. They're virtual every 2 weeks so that we can answer every single one of your questions. And I want to really zoom in on the goal. We have a massive goal. It's $10 million that we want in 6 months. It's an astounding amount of money that we need right now, but I want to be so clear that massive goal is reflective of the urgency that we're all seeing in our community. We need to act, and we need to act fast. And like Tim mentioned, we're no longer waiting, for the government to provide solutions. Somebody's got to do something. That someone is us, and that someone involves our community coming together and supporting us in this, because we can get it done. We just need everybody to come together for us as well. And so for anyone who wishes to be part of a fast, efficient, but also very joyful solution solution, please contact us. Come on out. We want you with us. Help us out.
All right. The website is?
redwoodparkcommunities.com/bonds.
And is there a phone number people can call if they want to, if they prefer?
Email, I think, would be best because invest@redwoodparkcommunities.com.
All right, and this is so very important. You mentioned the number of units that you've got on the drawing board, but the need is much greater than that.
It is, but we also have to start somewhere, and we need to start somewhere quickly, not 5-6 years down the line. So that is the intention of this project and this bond campaign, is to get these units going and get them opening up. And the sooner that we can start getting them open, the sooner we can get families into stable housing.
You've got a goal of $10 million. How much do you need to get those started, though? Do you need the $10 million, or is there a number that you're looking at that can get the ball rolling?
Yeah, that's a great question. We actually yesterday just finished laying out what we needed over the course of the year and when we needed it by. So over the course of this next year, every couple of months we need a couple of $1 million to come in. Until we hit that target. And so we don't need it all at once. We need it to come in so that we can start moving things forward. And we'll be able to get, with about $500,000, we'll be able to get 20 units going almost immediately. And then we'll have to backfill that with more as more comes in.
So you've laid the gauntlet down. People should be chomping at the bit to get in on this and help out in a great way, and then also reap some benefit themselves other than a really good feeling.
Absolutely. And it is a wonderful feeling. There's nothing like being able to drive by a building that you know is literally changing people's lives for the better. It's allowing families, allowing people to experience a better life, to be able to drive by it and say, I helped build that. I did that. It's an incredible feeling, and we want the entire community to have that feeling too.
The website, once again?
It's redwoodparkcommunities.com/bonds.
Thanks for the work you're doing. Thanks for coming in today, and we'll look forward to an update.
Yeah, thank you so much for having us.
We may be in the depths of winter, but summer will be here sooner than you think. And if you're a hockey family, you may be looking for something hockey-related for the kids to do. We introduced you a year ago to Justin Blanchette, a St. Peter's Catholic Secondary School student who put together the only youth summer hockey league in the city. It went so well last year, he's expanding this year.
Yes, last year was very successful. It was great hearing all the feedback and seeing all the parent and kid testimonials that we got. It was amazing that we were able to put it on for those children that participated last year. Just as a small recap, we had the 4 teams battling it out for an 8-week league in the summer, and 2 age groups compiled into 1 division, which was our U11 and U12 kids. And like I said, it went amazing. They really enjoyed it. There was a lot of smiles on their faces throughout the summer. Lots of great competitive games. I thought the teams were very balanced. We tried our best, obviously, with accommodating friend requests to keep the teams balanced, and it seemed like that worked out pretty well, especially from what we're hearing from the kids and the parents that were there last summer. They said they enjoyed it. So overall, it was a great season, and I'm really looking forward to expanding it and for this opportunity for more kids to enjoy what they got last summer and hopefully even more.
All right, so you had 4 teams last summer. What are you looking at for this summer?
So last summer we had the 1 division, 4 teams, yes. And then this summer we're planning on doing 3 divisions, and each division will have 4 teams together. So collectively 12 again.
So did you find after you got everything organized for last year and the teams were set that all of a sudden there was some more interest, but you weren't able to accommodate them last year?
Yes, there was a little bit of a wait list last year. Definitely not as much as there is now. I wasn't expecting so big of a wait list this year. We started our registration January 5th this year, and our lowest division, our U10 and U11 division, fully sold out within a week, and then now we have a wait list of 20 kids still on it. So that definitely, that lets us know possibly next year in the summer of 2026, maybe open up more teams in the younger divisions, because that interest is really there. So that was overwhelmingly positive to see. Yeah,
are you expanding the age groups, did you say?
Yes, so it'll be U10 to U15, so U10 and 11 and 1, 12 and 13, 14, 15 and 1. So those are the birth years of 2010 to 2015.
This is great because this kind of started out as a marketing project for you in high school, didn't it? Because you were 16 when you dreamt this up?
That's right, yes. It did start as a marketing project, as an idea for my final CCT in high school. And it was so successful, I saw that this has a long-term potential for a great business. So I'm very excited that I've expanded it, taking it very seriously, obviously. And I want everyone involved just to have such an amazing experience. My league is really experience-driven. I'm trying to strive for excellence in what we do, and I just hope that all the kids enjoy it.
What kind of mark did you get in marketing last year?
I got a pretty good mark. I think I got a 95 in that class.
Only a 95 for all this hard work? Because you had identified a gap. There wasn't anything like this for kids in the Barrie area in the summertime. They had to go down to Toronto or elsewhere.
For any 5-on-5 leagues, they needed to go farther.
So you identified the need and went out and did all the legwork and got it all together and pulled it together and became a success.
Yeah, it was great. It was a lot of work, obviously. Expanding it this summer has given us a little bit of knowledge as to what is involved, because we went through a lot of that last summer, so a lot of it's copy and paste. But of course, there's new areas and new things that we're learning along the way. Personally, for me, I see all challenges as opportunities for growth. That's the way I look at it. So it's great to see all these new challenges come up and to learn how to adapt to them and how to crush them, I guess.
With expansion and growing, does that mean you're looking for more people to help you out? Do you need some volunteers?
Possibly, yes. We had a great list of about 8 staff last year, including our timekeepers, our referees, and our one trainer, and they did an amazing job, and I give a lot of the league success to them over the summer. They did a great job. So for sure, though, we will need more, of course, with the expansion. Another thing we've done, which we took from feedback that was really, really important, was last summer. Not sure if you remember, but it was on a weekend. And this year, we've managed to get weekday ice that's during the evening. So that's a lot better for kids that are going to cottages and parents that are working. Now we have evening ice on weekdays, so that demand's there. And it's a lot higher than it was last year for that reason. And that's probably one of the reasons why we've sold out our 2 bottom divisions.
And last year you were at Allendale Rec Center, same venue this year?
Yes, so Allendale and the Sadlin Center as well.
Oh, very good.
And the reason we're doing that, it's for our 2 younger divisions play at the Sadlin Center, because a lot of them haven't got scheduled yet where they do practices or games on where the home of the Barrie Colts play. So we think that's fun for them. So we're trying to get as many Sadlin ice opportunities as possible. And then the other ones we're fitting in at Allendale.
If parents are interested in getting their kids involved, how do they go about that?
They can head over to our website, which is barrieyouthhockey.ca. As I mentioned, the 2 youngest divisions are sold out, so that's our U10-11 and U12-U13. So currently, we're still looking for a handful of registrations in our current U14 and U15 divisions. So that's the birth years 2010 and 2011. So if any parents are interested in that division, please reach out to us on our website, barrieyouthhockey.ca. That's where you can find all of the information you need and where you can register.
Don't hesitate, because it sounds like it's filling up fast.
It is, yes.
Congratulations to you on
the
success of this and taking it from nothing to what it is today. That's awesome.
Thanks, Dan.
What Barrie's Talking About is a weekly podcast featuring the best Barrie and Simcoe County have to offer and more. You can get caught up and make it easy to keep up in the future by subscribing to What Barrie's Talking About through any podcast distributor. Still to come on What Barrie's Talking About, changing the way the trash is collected in Barrie, how to turn customer complaints into compliments, and our weekly update on the Barrie Colts season. Now this.
Our community rocks.
It's a well-known fact blood transfusion saves lives. It's also a well-known fact that the world relies on voluntary unpaid donations to fill the need for blood. The need for blood never ends. Canadian Blood Services in Barrie is calling on you to help save a life. Please consider donating today. Appointments are mandatory and must be booked in advance. Book today at blood.ca through the Give Blood app or by calling 1-888-2-DONATE.
Barrie's Rock Station, Rock 95.
This is What Barrie's Talking About from Barrie 360. I'm Dan Blakely. Some trash talk now. City of Barrie getting closer to the switchover to big bins on wheels and giving residents a chance to choose the size of the regular bin they receive. So we thought it was a good idea to bring back Stephanie Mack. She's an Associate Director of Waste Management for Barrie to rehash what's happening, why it's happening, when it's happening, and the impact not just on residents but on businesses as well. She's with Barrie 360's Will Conkin.
The City of Barrie is transitioning to automated cart collection for garbage and organic materials. Why is this, and what is this?
The switch to automated waste collection is actually a trend that we're seeing not only provincially, but across North America. The sector is actually changing to collecting waste with the truck that has that mechanical arm that is used to dump or tip a standard set of carts. Really, the reasons protect the driver's health and safety. We see that the waste contractors are able to recruit. It opens up the workforce for them, securing drivers for our contract. Especially, we see that even with our neighbors, they've switched to automated collection for that very reason. And also for residents, it is easier to roll those carts to the curb. They're sturdy. The lids really help to keep things neat and tidy on the streets.
Connected with that, what changes should residents expect with this new system coming in?
So we have a lot of work to do. Automated collection here in the City of Barrie starts on September 8th. But to prepare for that, we are working to get everybody's cart order, so to speak, in place. The city will be providing a standard set of carts to prepare for this to every residential property that receives curbside collection. The standard set of carts is a 240-liter garbage cart and a 120-liter organics cart. But we did hear from our community that they wish to have the option to switch that 240-liter garbage cart if that was just too big for their household or for their property. So the first step in this process, we have opened an option or a portal where residents can choose, the property owner can choose a smaller garbage cart should they wish to have that for their property.
There's a fee if they pass over the deadline, is that correct?
That's correct. So within this window, and the carts will be provided, the standard set, at no charge to each property. And during this time to March 31st, with that selection, there is no charge to choose the 120-liter garbage cart. That said, once they are all delivered, and we will be delivering carts this summer, it's actually going to take quite a few months to get them to every property within the city. We will be starting in June, likely going right through till August. Then we will have a period where we're going to ask property owners just to use their cart, see if they like it, see if the size is appropriate for their property. After that, should they wish to switch, whether if they wanted the bigger one, the small one doesn't work for their property, or, vice versa, if the big one is too big, it will be a $50 charge for them to switch out in October.
And then people can see the carts, correct? They're at different locations, kind of set up as a little demo to see kind of what would work possibly best.
Yeah, absolutely. We have placed the carts at various city facilities in order for property owners to go and, test drive them, touch them, see how big they are. And what we're asking is to really consider how much garbage your family, your household, property generates throughout the year. We know that, holidays are especially impactful on how much garbage that your property would generate. So just to be aware that I know that the cart might seem large, but it really is that size is to fit the 2 bags, a little bit more of garbage. So, we would really recommend that property owners go out and see them.
What are the benefits of this changing over to this new system for the city and for the residents? I think you already kind of mentioned about the residents, easier for them to get it out. But what are the benefits for both sides? Maybe explain again.
For residents, those carts really do keep waste neat and tidy. When you see them, you'll see they have nice, large, chunky wheels. They're able to navigate through snow. Today is a perfect example. It's snowy. That those the carts are really great to roll down the driveway.
Will the city be gathering, I think you kind of mentioned it, feedback at all, like during this transition period and after, to see if any other changes need to be made?
We're always seeking feedback. I think that's the great thing about waste management. We know that our community really takes an interest in how their waste is collected. Like I said, the first we did hear, last year of that desire to have an option for the smaller garbage cart. We would recommend that if, there's some special intricacies with your property, if you have questions about where you would set out your carts, we're here. There's lots of information at barrie.ca/curbside collection changes, but we are always available to help, to assist, to provide additional information if your question can't be answered there.
What changes will business properties face with the new collection limits that start in September, I believe it is, right?
Yes. We are, with automated collection, moving to a new program for what we call our IC&I, or our industrial, commercial, institutional, or our business institutional properties. We have opened a new registration for them, which will ensure that their carts are ready to go on September 8th. So business properties will also be receiving a standard set of carts, and that would be the 240-liter garbage cart, a 120-liter organics cart, and a 360-liter recycling cart. Businesses are a little bit different from residential properties, something we didn't touch on, in that recycling is staying the same for our residential properties. The material will still be collected in boxes to stream, as it is really looked after by Circular Materials. The city no longer collects residential recycling. But for our business customers, we will be providing that option that they can register for that 360-liter recycling cart.
Just in general, why isn't there a cart for recycling?
That's a great question. We're hearing a lot of questions about recycling. Last May, the city's residential recycling program transitioned to an organization called Circular Materials. And Circular Materials now operates the collection system for residential recycling here in the city. And they are the decision makers. They have indicated that there'll be no changes to the way that recycling is collected right now. So the blue box, the gray boxes will continue to go to the curb. Could it change in the future? Potentially, but that will be their decision on whether or not the city of Barrie will have recycling carts.
I guess kind of also connected with that, what is the broader, bigger goal environmentally for the city?
Diversion is always top of mind for the waste team at the city. After we get through carts and getting those distributed, we're going to hear a lot about the landfill and making sure that we're taking care of that asset. It's a critical asset for the city. We're looking at our diversion rate, which is really reducing the amount of garbage that we're sending to the landfill. We're keeping recycling out of the garbage. I think organics is a really great story, one that we are looking at. We talked a little bit about organics for businesses. That is new. We have never offered that program for businesses, and we're so pleased to finally be able to deliver that green cart should businesses wish to have city service. So lots to talk about in the future. Let's get through carts, and we really do appreciate our community using their green cart, using their recycling bins, and keeping that material out of the landfill.
Always a lot of questions, often complaints when there's change of the magnitude we'll see in garbage collection. There's an art to handling those kinds of calls and a way to soothe the savage beast. Award-winning Barrie author Joan Johnston has been there and developed some strategies she has put in her book Customer Whisperer, Turning Complaints into Compliments with a Wave of Your Hand. She's with our Ian MacLennan.
So, Joan, the customer whisperer, turning complaints into compliments with a wave of your wand. What does that title mean? If I see that book on the shelf, what's it telling me?
Well, customer whisperer, it mimics horse whispering. It really is about relationship building, and the wave of your wand is the gentle, quiet approach that horse whisperers use to build a connection with their horses. So that is what it means. Customer whisperer, it's really all about customer service excellence. We're just applying it to humans instead of horses.
And when you say customer service, people immediately would think retail, but diving into this book, it goes well beyond that. It said to me, anytime you're interacting with someone who's a customer,
yes,
it matters.
And beyond that, initially, your initial customer is your immediate family. In fact, you are your own customer. You need to start with yourself and treat yourself right to be able to treat others right. So your immediate self, your immediate family, and then the people around you. And a customer really is anyone that you interact with, where there's a give and take of services, products, or simple information, just a relationship. So anyone, where there's an interaction, there is a customer.
Now, you're an award-winning author, but you have quite a background, very, very wide background. What was it in your background that might have been the trigger to write this book?
So, I've been with the public service for 50 years, and I've held various other positions in human services. And one of the things that I've noticed right from the beginning is that the people with the right mindset and the right tools can turn any interaction into a positive occasion. And that's what I've used, because I've had my own moments where I've learned. I've not always been a perfect customer, but I've learned over the years that the negativity doesn't serve me well, where I can be gentle and use a gentle approach when I'm confronted by a family member, a staff, a colleague, or a customer. That approach has always served me better and has reconciled the conflict that existed.
That's not easy to do in every situation. Are there sort of rules or techniques that you could offer that would assist somebody in that you know, to better manage that situation?
So this isn't something that you learn overnight. It's something that the more you practice it, the better you get at it. And really, it's about empathy and active listening and compassion. And we don't always have that in the moment when we're confronting a difficult situation. But when we become aware of it and we start using it every day, and we reflect on the good moments at the end of each day, or with every positive customer interaction, we can build from that and get better. And if we do it in a team environment where we take a few minutes at the end of the day just to reflect on positive customer interactions, or even with our teams, give our colleagues some recognition for work well done, that is building that muscle. Having said so, I do realize that sometimes we're hit with an emotional charge. And this is where we need to stop and listen and not become defensive or be quick to fix the problem, but stop and allow the other person a moment to think and act and respond. And you know, it's all about being genuine and being kind and understanding. And that moment of silence where you pause can be golden. Silence isn't always golden in customer service, but in negative situations, taking a moment gives both you and the customer an opportunity to just take a step back and relax.
Now, there are a number of customer service resources out there in book form or otherwise, but reading your book, it's not just talk, it's you walk the walk. You delve into real-world experiences, correct?
Yes.
Maybe if you could elaborate?
Okay, so my book is based on real-world experiences, as you said, and it includes actionable strategies I've used successfully over decades in leadership roles. It is infused with my personal stories and insights, making it relatable and practical. Plus, having been a diversity and inclusion champion, I have addressed diversity and inclusion, and having been a leader for over 25 years, I've also included how to deal with teams effectively, which in traditional customer service roles, that element has been overlooked.
And how critical is it for, you talk about being a leader, a team leader, that the people that work with you see the leader interacting that way, getting that messaging across?
Yeah, so as a leader for over 25 years, I can tell you that you are the foundation for excellent customer service. You must lead by example. You must show your staff that empathy and work with them to build that empathy. It's important for you as a leader to develop a customer-centric culture where excellence thrives. So sharing quick wins with your teams and celebrating those, providing training, and not just training in processes, but training in mindset is crucial in building that empowerment for your staff.
Briefly then, give us an example in your life where you take what you've written and you've used or had to use.
So I want to tell you about a story along my journey, one of many that I've encountered, where a customer walks into our office visibly upset. Instead of focusing on their tone, focused on their story. And in dealing with that, I learned that their frustration was based on years of feeling unheard. So a few kind words and a genuine, I'm here to help, just quickly change the situation and change the mood of that conversation, making that customer feel seen, heard, and valued.
Now, you say what's important in customer service is to emphasize diversity and inclusion. Unfortunately, in our world today, those two words aren't very complimentary sometimes. What does that mean when we're talking about customer service?
So
what do those words mean?
I've been a diversity and inclusion champion for decades. And what I've learned is that everyone brings their own diverse and unique perspective, which needs to be embraced and appreciated. And that's the type of thing we need to teach our people, that just because someone is different, it doesn't mean they're wrong. I've been different my entire life, and this is where I've learned that diversity and inclusion matters. It's important. We can't have biases that based on what we see or what our culture has taught us. We need to value what everybody brings to the table so that our staff can bring their best to work and serve our customers in the most respectful manner.
What's been the feedback?
The feedback has been phenomenal. One of the things I get from my readers is that they value the diversity and inclusion and the leadership aspect because they feel that part has been overlooked in traditional customer service guides, and that it brings a fresh perspective to customer service excellence.
When I read through your book, and again, my initial first blush was, this will be about retail. Then I dove into the book and went, wait a minute, I'm in customer service in this industry too, interacting with the public.
Yes.
This was about me. This was about anybody who we're all human. We interact with people. It's about it covered the whole genre.
Yes.
And what would be the final takeaway for our listeners here?
Every customer is an opportunity to spread and connect genuinity, and every complaint is an opportunity in disguise. Every interaction is a practice of kindness. So I say, let's all take our roles as customer service whisperers and wave our wands, which is the wand of action, smiles, and words, the right words, and bring value to every interaction that we have, and leave every customer leaving our interaction feeling wow and wanting to come back for more.
If someone wants more information about your book, where can they access that?
My website is called thecustomerwhispererbook.com. I have an Instagram. My Instagram handle is Joan Customer Whisperer, and my book can be found on Amazon, The Customer Whisperer, turning complaints into compliments with the wave of your wand.
The Barrie Colts continue their trot to the OHL playoffs, picked up another win this week, giving them a little breathing space atop the Eastern Conference. Here again is our Will Conkin with Colts writer and broadcaster Gene Pereira.
Gene, I have to start by asking you how you're doing. The Colts played 3 games in 3 days, then the makeup game on Tuesday. They were battling, but you were doing the same, covering it all. I just want to see how you're doing.
Yeah, I guess I called Saddle Arena home for a few days there. Got the toothbrush out and the pajamas and moved in. But certainly a busy stretch, a fun stretch, a lot of hockey, and right in the thick of things this year as things heat up here in the second half.
For sure. So as of late, the Colts picked up a 5-3 win over Ottawa, lost in overtime 3-2 against Oshawa, which also snapped the Colts' 6-game win streak, but they got going again, beat Niagara in overtime 7-6. And as you said in your article on Barrie360.com, they found a way to win 3-2 over Kingston. Gene, I think that's been a constant theme. The Colts find ways to win, and that's what good teams do, right? They win big or gut it out.
Yeah, even on the nights that they're not at their best. And, last night against Kingston, Barrie had Bo Akey and Tristan Bertucci at a lineup. Both were under the weather. And, you kind of got to gut out those wins, find ways to win, and they did. Opening 40 minutes, I think Kingston was the better club, but in the third, Barrie got on top, and even when Kingston came back and tied it, they got the lead and then hung on. And a big part of that again was Ben Horevic, who was outstanding. But this team, I think that's why they're at the top of the Eastern Conference standings. They don't rely on 1 or 2 lines or 1 or 2 players. They get contributions on different nights from different guys. They step up. Other guys step up when maybe someone else isn't having as good a game. And we've seen that trend here over this season. And I think it's why Barrie is such a good hockey club.
There was a couple names that you were mentioning off air prior to recording. It was Emil Hemming and it was Riley Patterson, their playmaking and just their overall momentum on the ice, you could say. Talk about those guys.
Yeah, Hemming obviously, had a bit of a slow start. There's an adjustment to the North American style of game for the Finnish winger, and really since coming back from the World Juniors, he's been outstanding and had a huge goal against Oshawa there late to force overtime and give the Colts a point, help give the Colts a point there in a game where maybe they didn't deserve one. But he's been outstanding, and again, especially in that power play, the one-timer, the ability to finally be able to use that shot of his, and just a lot more confident game. And for Riley Patterson, he's kind of gone under the radar a bit, yet he's leading the team in scoring, a big goal and assist last night. But what's really stood out for me with Riley is just his playmaking ability, and he's absolutely set up some beautiful goals over the last few weeks, and he's been primarily more of a playmaker role, and this is a guy that can finish as well. But he's been one of those big guys that has really delivered, ever since they turned things around after a losing streak.
Just like Hemming, Cole Bodwin was at the World Juniors. He's back in the mix. He scored twice in the 67s game. What's it mean for the team to get his mojo back?
Yeah, I think, Cole's always out there working hard, and you see it, but he went through a bit of a dry spell scoring-wise there, and I think a lot of it had to do, he was injured going into World Juniors, and I think he had some time off when he returned from Barrie to heal an injury, and, it's taken him a little bit while, but you can see that back in his game. He's starting to put points up on the board, and, again, you're seeing that familiar work ethic, which is up and down the ice, and last night he was outstanding. He was one of the better players for Barrie in that 3-2 win over Kingston. And again, this guy is a big part of the penalty kill, the power play. He does it all, and to see him finally get that scoring touch again, it's just another guy for Barrie that's producing.
And the Colts are still in the top 10 rankings for the CHL. They just squeezed in there at number 10. Gene, could you see them climb the rankings? Windsor sits at 8, Kitchener is in the 5th spot, and London at number 1. Of course, they play London a little bit from now, but what do you think of that?
Yeah, Barrie's starting to close the gap point-wise with those top teams in the West. And, again, I think Barrie's been, they've proven that they've been the best team in the Eastern Conference up to this point. When you look at the head-to-head games, they've taken, 3 to 4 games from Oshawa. Kingston, they've won both games. So they've beaten the top teams in the East, and now they've split with Windsor. Kitchener has had their number as usual. And London, they lost in London, but they got a big one coming up against the Knights in Barrie. So I think Barrie's proven themselves, and that they're one of the better teams across the country. And it'll be interesting to see if they can move up here. But they've been on quite a roll, and I expect that to continue.
An easier bit coming up for the Colts. One game on the schedule this weekend. The Sioux Greyhounds come to town on Saturday. Gene, what do you think about this game and the rest that they definitely need after this recent stretch?
Yeah, I think with some guys sick, and it gives you a chance to kind of rest up, and you got the one game, but you got to be careful again. Obviously, you don't want to overlook the Sioux Greyhounds. In this league, you can't take a night off. You take a night off, you end up paying for it, and we've seen the battles. Owen Sound has been playing really well. Peterborough, the Sioux Greyhounds again, one of these teams that's in a rebuilding mode, but. On any given night, so to speak, you got to be careful not to look your opponent. So obviously Barrie will focus on that game Saturday before heading into what's ahead.
Gene, I hope you get some rest during this stretch as well. Till the next one.
Thanks, Will.
And that's our program for this week. Thanks to Ian and Will for their input, to Matt Ladder for his technical expertise, and to you for listening. If you like what you've heard, please subscribe to What Barrie's Talking About, rate it, review it. You can also keep up with What Barrie's Talking About on Blue Sky and X at Barrie360, on our website, Barrie360.com, and there's our daily Kickstart podcast available from any streaming service and on our website. I'm Dan Blakely. Hope you'll join us again next week.